Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Sammy here, and yeah, welcome to my channel. Today during our yoga practice, we're going to be using one of the tools of the yoga trade, and that is a yoga strap. So using one of these can help us with reach, with support, and give us a sense of connection. Now, with today's practice, if you don't want to use a strap, that's totally okay. All these poses are with or without strap options, okay? But if it's something that you may like to try and you don't have one of these yoga straps, just grab whatever's handy. You could use anything with length, really, like a strap off a luggage, off a piece of luggage, bag sort of thing. You could use a tie, like a men's tie as well. Just really anything, yeah, with length. This is a robe tie, obviously. So, yeah, something like that. Now, with yoga straps, they generally have some sort of buckling system. So you're able to get, kind of big holes, little holes sort of thing here. So you can hang on to, limbs and stuff. So if you wanted to fashion something like that out of whatever you're using, you just kind of make a little knot here, pop it in there. Urgh. And then if you want it to make it like it's adjustable, you can pop that through and then you've got, yeah, a bit of a whole thing there. So, yeah, so just, yeah, use what's handy. I'll pop that out of the way. So as always, we want to listen to our body and how it's showing up. So this is a bit of a stretchy session. So if you're feeling a bit tight in the muscles, whatever, this is going to suit you down to a T. Yeah, but we want to find that sense of our edge. Where's that point our body's telling us that's far enough for us to go today? We definitely don't want to be in pain. We want to practice ahimsa, non-harming to ourselves. So yeah, so just listen to your body. We'll be holding the poses for a little bit, anywhere between 1 to 3 minutes. So if you do need to come out a little bit earlier, that's totally okay. You can just hit the pause button and have a little break as well whenever you want to. So I think this would be a really good idea if we kind of workshop this video. So it's all about getting a little curious and exploring what we could actually do with one of these things. Sometimes when you do adapt using a strap in a pose, it can be more effort than what it's actually worth. But I mean, it's also good to just try stuff as well. So the first thing we're going to do is come into like a bit of a cat-cow situation. So we're opening up through the front and back of our bodies. So I'm actually going to sit side on here. Okay, so you get a little bit of an idea about what we can do, the shapes we can make with our strap. So just pop your legs into a position that feels good. Okay, I'm actually going to have mine out in the front here. So from here, I've got my strap roughly around about shoulder width apart. And I'm going to think about tucking my pelvis under and tucking my chin as I reach forward. Okay, so kind of like I'm making this C shape with my spine, and I'm kind of visualizing that my spine is reaching as far back towards the back of my mat as it possibly can. Okay, the upper portion of my spine, the middle portion, and the lower portion. And then, you can kind of see if you can feel the muscles of your back start to stretch and open, the back of your rib cage, the back of your hips. And we can just let our legs go to jelly here and just focus our stretch on opening the back part of our body. Now, like I said, you could do this stretch without using a strap, but it's kind of nice to feel that sense of like unity or connection as we're holding on. I'm even pulling the band apart to some extent. So I'm feeling this opening through the shoulders and the back of the neck as well. So let's just hang here for another, say, 10 breaths. And now, of course, you can come out earlier if you want to. Really reaching the back part of our body behind us. Tucking that pelvis under. And we'll take another 3 breaths here. And then slowly start to come up. So let's roll the shoulders down from the ears, and we'll take a few breaths here, just a little bit of rebound, just to notice how we feel after we've stretched the back part of us, from the back of our shoulders through down to our maybe lower back section here. And then when you're ready, we're going to open up through the front of our body. So we can grab our strap and kind of hang on to it. So how far you have your hands depends on your shoulder mobility, so how it's feeling in the shoulders. So from here, I'm going to lift up as high as I can, as long as my shoulders feel fairly comfortable. Think about anchoring my sit bone and lifting my chest up and forward as I'm pulling against the band. Now, we don't want to crank the neck all the way back. We want to find a sense of length in the back of the neck. So almost imagine like you're trying to draw the nose up and keep that length in the back of the neck. Now my legs are a little bit active here as well because they're anchoring down to onto my mat. So there's quite a lot going on with this one. Opening up through the chest, we can quite often feel a bit tight in this department in the front of our chest. Just from our lifestyle. So we're going to hold this for another 10 breaths here, getting that big stretch. You can even widen the arms a little bit if you need to. And then when you're ready, start to gently roll the shoulders down in line with the ears. Maybe give your arms a little shimmy shake here, have a little break. And again, we'll take that little pause and just notice how we feel in our chest after we've used our straps to help open up through our heart space. So we want to just comfortably sit upright, not stiff, just to be nice and open so our breath can move freely in and out of our bodies. Okay, so for this next one, we're going to be doing a single-legged forward fold. So we'll take a bend into our knee, doesn't matter which one, just pick whatever knee you want to. Okay, and then from here, I'm sitting on a cushion here just because my hips get a little bit tight. So it's kind of easier on my back and my hips. So from here, I'm going to use my strap to help me bring my body forward. Okay, so I'm just going to have it looped lightly around the bottom of my feet. Sit up nice and tall, take a nice full deep breath in to lift the crown of my head to the ceiling, and then start to fold forward. So I'm gently pulling on the strap. Now, if I maintain this nice upright, or not upright, I should say long spine, I'm feeling a really deep stretch through the back of my leg. Okay, and if that's the kind of stretch that you want today, that's fine, you can hang here. But if you want to kind of round through the back and get a bit more opening through your back part of your body, you can tuck your chin down and roll your body forward. I think I've stretched enough of my back, so I'm just going to focus on the back of my leg. I'll still keep a little tuck in the chin, but keep my spine long. So you kind of pick and choose what point you want to stretch. So I'm definitely feeling this through the back of my leg, right up to my ankle, even the bottom of my foot. So let's hang here for another 10 breaths. Just nice, slow, steady breaths. Relax through the muscles, breathe some space into the joints. And then when you're ready, we can start to ease on up. Maybe give our leg a little swish there. Okay, and take a moment here. We don't need to jump from one pose to the other in a hurry. Just allow that leg to come back after it's stretched. Notice how it feels. Okay, so from here we're going to add a twist. Now, I hadn't really planned on anything with the band for the twist, but if you want to get a little bit playful and see what you can work out, that's fine. All I'm going to do is I'm going to bend my knee and I'm going to cross it over my straight leg. Okay, so from here, so I've got my right leg over my left leg, and I'm going to grab my left arm and wrap it round my right leg and look over my left shoulder. So we'll breathe in deeply and lift a little bit up through the spine, keep that chest open. And then on the breath out, just settle into this twist, but just watch we're not kind of rounding through the spine. Maybe roll the right shoulder back and down. Just notice where you can feel this twist. And we'll take another 5 breaths here. I can feel this actually in my right glute. So the leg, this one here, I can feel a deep stretch in there. Nice. So we'll start to ease off that. And again, we can give the leg a little bit of a shake here. Take some time just to notice if we feel anything different from one leg to the other. Just a few breaths in rebound. Lovely. So now we're going to do it to the other side. So I'm going to take a bend into the left knee and pop that left foot on the inside of my right leg. Grab my strap, pop it around the bottom of my foot. And again, I want to emphasize stretching the back of my leg. Just adjust myself here. So I'm going to keep my spine fairly long for this one, no rounding for this one. So it's going to be fairly straight. So taking a nice deep breath in, and then I'm going to start to fold at that hip crease with a little tuck of the chin. And then just keep breathing here. Relaxing our gaze. Softening our shoulders away from the ears. Let's take another 10 breaths here. And then when you're ready, gently start to ease on out of your forward fold. Again, just take some time here. Let that leg come back from its non-stretching kind of position. Just let it be heavy. And then from here, we're going to add a rotation to the other side. So I've got my left leg. I'll pop over my right. Bring it as close to my body as I feel comfortable. Grab my right arm, wrap it around my left leg, and then we're going to breathe in, get a little bit more length to the spine, and then maintaining that length, just keep breathing your natural breath. Roll the left shoulder blade back and down. Have a play with where you want to put that left hand behind you. And see if we can feel it in a different spot than what we did the other way around. I'm kind of feeling it in the same spot though. So we've got about 10 more breaths here. So take your time. No need to count. If you lose count, I'll just ease you out of this pose in just a little moment. Nice. So when you're ready, you're going to slowly come to the front, take our leg off from a twisting over, and then just sitting up comfortably upright, just taking a moment here, allowing that twist to land. See if we can feel any difference between the right leg and the left leg, the right side of our body and the left side of our body. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is coming into a butterfly pose. Okay, so our feet are going to be joined together. So from here, I'm going to grab my little cushion. Particularly when I find I come into this pose, my mat keeps moving, I kind of need to sit up with this because my hips get very tight with just, getting older. Okay, so from here, we're going to bring our feet together. All right. And then from here, we can have a play with how far our feet are from our hips. So if you're finding that's really too much, too uncomfortable here, just take your feet a little further forward, okay? So with the strap, again, we can kind of get a little bit inventive here and see what we want to go with. So a couple of things I was thinking of, I might bring my feet a little closer, farther away from me anyway, is to come on up and then come into like a cactus arms. So sitting up nice and tall, stretching those arms up, and then drawing the elbows back and down to behind me. Yeah, so quite active for the back of my body here, opening up through the chest. Another thing you could probably try is getting a little bit of lateral strengthening, so strengthening through the side of your trunk. So you can kind of do a bit of a side bend here. So if you were tipping, like I'm tipping to the right here, I'm really thinking about anchoring the left bottom cheek down to the ground and just, keeping that left leg really heavy down that side. So lots going on. Or you could even just land your right hand and kind of play with, having a little stretch here. So kind of pulling on the band, still anchoring your left bottom and your left leg down, and kind of pulling to open up through the left side of your body. So there's a few things that you want to do. In fact, I might stick with this one because I'm kind of enjoying opening up through the side of my body. And I'm pulling on the band, so I'm a bit active through my arm, which is helping me stretch down the left side of my body. So it's all about just having a play, really. And I'm making sure that my arm stays in line with my ear and shoulder and hip. So not too far forward, not too far back, just in the middle. So just have a little play. Get curious. So we'll take another 5 breaths here. We don't do many sideways body movements in our daily lives, so it can feel nice to open up through this way. So from here, I'm going to push off the ground, come on up, just kind of relax a little bit. Again, take that little mini pause. There's no need to jump in from one side to the other. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to do the same thing when you're ready. So I might hang on. Just watch if you do have a yoga strap with metal buckles, just be careful they don't dong you in the head. That's happened to me before. So don't knock yourself out. All right, so from here, do the same side. So I'm thinking about anchoring down through the right side of my bottom and leg and really lifting up through the right side of my rib cage. And it's just gently pulling down on the strap. So here's a little bit of fluffing about because you've got to find that length that's going to give you a stretch and support. You can even shut your eyes or relax your gaze here. And let's take 5 more breaths here in our little side bend stretch. All right, so I'm going to use my left arm to press through the ground. Come on up. Again, I'll go a little bit of a jiggle, loosen things out a little bit here, take some time just to notice if I feel any difference between one side of my body and the other and how they're feeling at the moment, how that Stretch has landed into my body. All right. Okay, so we stretch the sides. Now we're going to stretch actually through the shoulders and the back of our arms. And we're doing this through cow face pose. Okay, so I'm going to cross my left leg in front of the right because I'm going to be starting with my left arm first. So from here, this is where you have to be careful of the buckle if you have a metal buckle, because as you lift your arm up and get organized, you don't want to kind of knock it into your head. So I'm going to grab my left arm with the strap in my hand, or you can even use the loop here. And I'm going to have it so the palm of my left hand's kind of facing the upper portion of my back. And I'm going to grab my right arm and tuck it behind. I bend it behind and then grab on the strap. Okay, so I don't know about you, but when I do this without the strap, if I do it one way, my hands can touch, but if I do it the other way, like the opposite, I can't get them to touch. So using a strap, I kind of feel like I feel that sense of connection when I do both sides. So anyway, grabbing the strap, just gently pull pull down, but pull up at the same time. So we're thinking about drawing the elbow up as high as we can. And getting, like doing this is a lot to do with shoulder mobility. So we're not pushing it to pain. We just want to get a little bit of a stretch through our back of our arm here up in the air, through our shoulder. And we're just going to hang here for a little bit. So let's take 10 full deep breaths here. You can even add a little bit of a side bend if you wanted to this, but I've done enough side bending, so I'm just going to hang nice and tall in my seat. So let's take a few more breaths here. Just gently pulling down, pulling up. And then just releasing. I'm going to actually let that hang there. Before I jump in and do the other side, I'll just give my arms a little shake and then give myself a little cuddle here. Just loosen it off. Little cuddle. Take a moment here. There's no need to rush into the other side. And then when you're ready, we can do the other side. So I'm going to pop it into my right hand. Now this is the side that's not as flexy as the left. So I'm going to pop it in there. And then, feed my hand down my back and then pull on the other way. Yeah, this side definitely feels a lot tighter when I do it like this position. But that's okay because our body's different from one side to the other. And just gently holding that there. So we want a gentle pull. We're not getting rough here, just so we feel a sense of lengthening and openness through the shoulder and through the back of the upper arm. So we want to keep that elbow up as high as we can. So let's hold this here for another 5 breaths. I find this side very challenging, this one. All right, so when you're ready, gently start to release again. Maybe give it a shake, maybe a bit of a cuddle, whatever. Take some time here in stillness just to notice how our shoulders feel after that little stretch. Relax our gaze. Just notice our breath moving in and out of our bodies. All right, so we're going to start making our way down onto the floor, and we're going to be using our straps for that as well. So when you're ready, coming down onto your back, I'm going to pop this out of the way for now. all the way down here. Okay, so from here we're going to come into bridge pose, and I've got a couple of options here for our straps when we do bridge pose. So the first option is you will need a big loop, and you're going to feed your feet through the loop, and then going to bring it so it's just above the knees and kind of tighten your loop up, make it nice and firm against your legs. So like our bridge pose, we want to have our feet fairly close to our bottom, whatever's accessible for you, and our ankles and knees and hips in line with each other. We'll just have our arms resting by our side, and then with the strap, I'm kind of pulling against it here. So I'm kind of activating my legs a little bit more because I'm pulling against it. Okay, so from here, I'm going to lift up. In fact, I feel like it's a little bit too close. I'm going to widen it just a little bit more and then come on up. Okay, so because I have the strap around the top of my legs, I actually feel more activation or more tension in the legs and glutes because I'm pulling against that strap. So you've got that option. Okay, another thing you can do is grab the strap. And if you want to open up through the chest, have the strap in both hands, come up into your bridge, tuck your shoulders under just a little bit, and then grab hold and pull against that strap. Okay, so hips up as high as you can, drive through the whole of your feet, particularly the big toe, and pull on that strap. Okay, so my arms feel very activated at the moment. Lots of tension through my arms, and I'm finding a little bit more openness through the shoulders and the chest just by hanging onto the strap here. Just adjust a little bit more. So have a bit of a play to what you want to do. Be mindful if you are doing the one where you're holding it with your hands, don't forget about your legs, because I was just doing that before. They were starting to open up. So if you are hanging onto it with your hands, keep pushing through the big toes to hug the thighs together. So yeah, just watch we don't let the knees kind of fall out away from each other. I feel like there's lots going on with this option. So let's hold this for another 5 breaths. And of course, you don't have to use any straps for this. You can just come into bridge pose. That's totally okay without the strap. And then slowly make our way down, slowly, slowly. When you get to the bottom, you might want to do a couple of windshield wipers. Let the shoulders come out from underneath each other. And then, yep, let's take a moment here, take a pause. All right, so we've got a couple of poses left. The next lot that we're going to be doing is opening up through the hip joints. Now, generally before I start jumping in and using strap work for this opening of hips and legs and whatever, I like to kind of like get some hip circling done, okay, just to loosen it off a little bit. So I'm going to pick up my right leg and hold on to my knee with my hands and just do some circles, just some little circles, get some gentle movement happening there, changing direction. Okay, so I'm all ready to go. So we'll grab our strap. Now you could hang on like this, and I've got a really nice long strap here, so I can just let my elbows rest on the ground, or you can use your loop here and do it that way. I kind of prefer to have something in both hands. Okay, so from here, I'm going to come a little bit over to the right side of my mat. So from here, let's just pop it underneath our feet, rest our elbows, a little tuck of the chin here. And before I start pulling on the band, I'm just going to straighten my leg as much as it feels comfortable for my knee. pull my big toe down towards my shin and drive my heel up. And just by doing that, I find I'm getting a pretty good stretch without even really pulling on the band. The band's just there to support my leg. It's just holding it up. So rather than having it as something to add extra stretch, it's just a support tool. If you would like to open up through your hip, so my left hip, I would straighten out that leg. And even doing that, there's a little bit more intensity to the stretch of my right leg. And then we can flex the ankle that's on the ground. So we're anchoring down the back of our straight leg on the floor, drawing those big toes towards the shins. So always pushing the heels of both feet up and away. So let's just hang here. And if you need a little bit more intensity, then you can start pulling on the strap a little bit more. I'm quite happy here though. And we want minimal arm strength for here, so let those elbows just rest on the floor. We'll take a few more breaths here. Take as much of a bend in this leg up in the air as you need as well, particularly if you've got tight hamstrings. All right, so we're going to add a stretch for the inside of this leg that's up in the air. So I'm going to transfer both straps into my right hand, take my left hand a little bit away from me. So I'm going to anchor down through that shoulder blade, that left shoulder blade. And then with the right arm, the elbow, I'm going to rest it on the ground as well as I sweep my leg out to the side. Okay, so we're stretching the muscles on the inside of our thighs. So just take this nice and slowly because they do get a little sensitive. And then my left leg is my anchor as well. So from my leg to my hip and my shoulder, I'm anchoring down onto the floor. Okay, so still think about driving the heel down the mat. And then, yeah, you can have a little play at flexing the ankles of both feet before you start tugging extra on the band here. Just by flexing that ankle, you'll get a little bit more degree of stretch. And we'll take a few more breaths here. And then using our arm strength, we can start to pull on that band, bring it back to center. Okay, if you need to take a little bit of a pause, get some circling of the hips. Don't need to rush from going from one stretch to the other. And then we're going to cross the leg over our body so we get a little bit of a spinal rotation as well. So from here, I'm going to anchor my right arm, sweep my leg over. Oh, that's it. So make a few adjustments here, and I've got my left arm out a little bit from my body. So I still have my left leg down the length of the mat. And we want to think about anchoring both shoulder blades to the mat as much as we can. All right, if it's lifting up a little bit, that's okay. Let's see if we can try and keep our right shoulder blade just melting into the floor. And then just notice where we're feeling this stretch. I can feel it right underneath my back of my leg, through my hamstring, even into my glute. And back of into my calf. And a little bit of a spinal rotation as well. So let's take another 5 breaths here. Trying to breathe some length into our muscles. And then when you're ready, start to gently pull on that strap. Bring the leg back to center. Take a bend in the knee. Maybe some windshield wipers here, just to loosen it off before we start to do the other side. All right, so from here, like I did with the other one, rather than jump in and do the stretches, I'm just gonna mobilize that hip just a little bit. Warm up the joints a little bit before I start stretching the muscles. and then go into our stretches. So the first one was a hamstring stretch. So I'm gonna lift up my left leg, and I already feel that this one's gonna be a little bit tighter. That's all right. Rest the elbows on the ground, and then I'm gonna straighten out my right leg. Oh, my foot's coming off the mat. There we go. All right, so from here, just tucking the chin gently into the throat, flexing my ankles first before I start pulling on that strap. And then trying to relax as much of my body as I can. Focus on lifting the heel up, lifting the heel towards the end of the mat. And let's take another 5 breaths here. Taking as much of a bend into that left knee as you need. And then when you're ready, start to ease off that stretch. And then we're going to, I feel like I'll be inchworming my way down the mat. We're going to open up through the inside of our left hip. So take it up to the side, wiggle over here a little bit. There we go. And then just take that left arm a little bit away, or the left elbow a little bit away from your body. Flex your ankles. Then this right arm, take it away from your body just a bit to anchor down through the right shoulder blade, the hip, the back of the right leg. Flexing our ankles, pulling the big toes to the shin. See if that increases our level of stretch. Definitely feel this in the inside of my thigh. And we'll take another 5 breaths here. And then when you're ready, again, just back off that level of intensity for your stretch and start to use your arm strength to pull up that leg to the center. And then we're going to stretch the outside or underneath this leg, wherever you're feeling it really. So we'll pop the straps into our right arm, and our left leg's going to sweep over to the left-hand side. Oh. Okay, get a little organized here. So I'm going to grab my left shoulder blade and roll it down the mat. Take my left hand down and away from me a little bit. And I'm focusing on that right foot, drawing it down the end of the mat. So I've got my little spinal twist happening here as I stretch the back of my left leg. Definitely feeling that. And relax your facial muscles and notch at your throat. And let's take 5 steady breaths here before we start to release from this twist. And then when you're ready, using arm strength to gently pull on that strap to center. Not a lot of effort here. And lowering down. Ooh, taking my fairy lights with me. Oh my goodness. Okay, so again, we can do a couple of windshield wipers here. And just come to some stillness, maybe straightening the legs and seeing how they feel after those stretches. And then the last stretch we're going to be doing is a quad stretch. So we're going to be stretching the muscles in the front of our legs. I think this really works well if you do have a loop in your strap. Yeah, so I'm going to use this loop to pop around my foot, tighten it off a little bit. So we're going to roll onto our tummies and doubling up our hands when we're ready. Pull on the strap just gently. Actually, I'll just be lying with my hand, with my forehead on the back of my hand. Yeah, so we want to be passive in our whole body except the stretch that we're doing through the leg here. And even that is as passive as we can be. So I'm gently pulling on the band or the strap, resting my forehand on the back of my hand. And almost thinking about tucking your hip down onto the floor. So that kind of helps open up through that quadricep or the front of our thigh muscle. Just a gentle kind of pressing down. So as we're pulling on the strap, we're kind of, melting that hip joint into the ground. And we'll hold this for another 5 breaths. This is kind of feeling good for me today. I hope you're getting as much out of it as I am. And everybody's where they hold tightness and tension is different depending on what they've been doing during the day or their lifestyle. Okay, so we'll gently ease off that strap. Again, we kind of don't have to jump into doing the other side just yet. Maybe a little bit of a wiggle through the hips, through the legs, getting really heavy there. Come to stillness. And then when you're ready, we can swap it on the other side. So a little bit of fluffing about here as we change over legs. All right. Okay, so I'm going to rest my forehead on the back of my hand, gently pull on the strap, melt my hip joint down to the ground. We do want to keep our knees, which I kind of forgot to tell you guys before. Try and keep your knees in line with your hips all close together, and then melt that hip joint. So I've got my left hip kind of melting down to the mat as I pull on the strap. See if I can get a bit of length through the front of my thigh muscle. We'll take another 5 deep, smooth breaths here before we start to release out of this quad stretch. And then in your own time, just gently start to loosen that stretch off. Again, kind of had a little bit of a shimmy shake here, the hips, the legs, and coming to a point of stillness, allowing that stretch to land, and see how you feel. And then when you're ready, we'll take some time for Savasana. So rolling onto your back, or actually come into a comfortable position, whatever it be, on your back, your side, sitting. We just want to take some time out here. No stretching, just Just being in the moment, just being heavy in the body, relaxing through the breath, hopefully finding a sense of stillness in the mind. And I'll gently draw you out of this Shavasana in just a little moment. And then when you're ready, being slow and gentle, start to bring some little movement back to the body, maybe wiggling toes and fingers or circling wrists and ankles, or a stretch that you like to do. And then coming over to one side. Make them just slow, soft movements, not rushing. And coming up to a comfortable seated position, whatever way or shape that will take. And then from here, we can roll the shoulders gently away from the ears, bring our hands to our heart space, and thank our amazing and incredible bodies for allowing us to stretch and to move and to be still, for our breaths for nourishing us, and for our minds for guiding and supporting us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for today's practice. And the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Okay, well, that's the end of our stretch session with straps. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Yeah, if there's anything that you'd like to see on this channel, please let me know. Don't forget to share this with your friends, hit the like or whatever, add some comments and subscribe. Otherwise, have a super afternoon, evening or morning whenever you're doing this practice, and I'll see you next time. See you later.